Welcome back to another episode of RotoX Fantasy. My name is Donnie, and this is the Glendale pre-show. This is our first Triple Crown of the season. The Triple Crown format is a little bit different than regular, so I will go over a couple of those things later, but I want to go over 5 rider stats with you to help you make your picks this weekend in Glendale. Before we get started, if you guys could just take a quick second to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you don't already. It really helps the channel grow. It promotes visibility. It lets me know what you guys want to see. It's just very helpful. Thank you guys, everybody that does that already. The first rider I want to cover today is going to be your 450 All-Star. It's none other than defending champion Cooper Webb. Last season, Cooper Webb logged first, and second in the 3 Triple Crown rounds. His 4 handicap this weekend is more than generous. Cooper has 2/3, and of course the weekend he was sick where he finished outside of the top 10. He's going to get good starts. He's going to make smart decisions. Cooper Webb is a lock this weekend for the Triple Crown round, and I even think that he's a very good candidate for your first lap leader, but we'll get to that at the end of the show. For your All-Star on the 250 side, I'm going to be taking Austin Forkner. Forkner's going to get great starts. He's going to stay in contention. Austin has a lot of ground to make up after his abysmal finish at A2, so look to see him riding aggressively, probably a little on the edge, but that's really no different than how he normally rides. Forkner is going to be my All-Star this weekend, and I advise you to take him as well. A 4 handicap is, again, more than generous for a guy who won every single round until he got injured. The first non-All-Star I want to cover is going to be Blake Baggett. Blake should be an All-Star, but Blake tucked his wheel making a pass for the lead at A2, and imagine how different that race would have been if Blake would have been able to stick that pass on Roczen. Would Tomac have been able to run away with it, or would Tomac have been chasing Baggett the entire race? Last year, Blake had 14 top 10s, 9 top 5s, and 5 podiums. During the Triple Crown rounds, he had a top 5 and 2 top 10s. A lot of value here. I think anytime you have these guys that are all-star caliber, that should be all-star, that maybe were all-star the week before, you have to take these guys. They have a very high ceiling. I know that the higher handicap leaves a little bit of room for double points, but we're not looking for double points anymore. We're looking for above double points. You're looking for that high ceiling, somebody that could score 34, 36, 40 points. So Blake Baggett, even at a -1, is probably my lock of the week. Staying in the 450 class, the next rider we're going to go over with is Dean Wilson. Dean had a great showing this week, logging his first top 10 of the season. A lot of you guys probably know that Dean was actually injured doing a quad at Monster Cup and missed a lot of training this season, so there was a little concern about him getting rolling early in the season. After 2 okay weeks of him logging in the top 15, he did score that top 10 after qualifying 4th last week with a 3 handicap. Dean was one of the top scorers in the class. Dean still has a 2 handicap, and last year he averaged better than 8th place in all of the Triple Crown main events combined, which he only averaged a little better than 9th place on all of the other main events combined. So he's actually doing an entire place better in Triple Crown mains than he is in other mains. So I think Dean is somebody that definitely has a lot of value with that 2 pick. I mean, if he can get in the top 7, that's a top 5 scorer. Remember last year that Dean had 4 top 5s, and 11 of his 14 rounds before getting injured, he was in the top 10, including that podium he had in the final Triple Crown round of 2019 in Houston. Dean should definitely be an all-star, so you really have to capitalize on the weeks that those top 10 guys aren't and get maximum points out of them. The final rider I want to cover is going to be a 250 guy. We actually talked about him last week, and we're going to talk about him again this week, is Michael Lieb. Last week I was high on him at a 7 handicap, and this week they even bumped it up to an 8. Unfortunately for Michael, he actually came down with an illness late in the week last week. He posted up Saturday morning saying he was not going to be able to make it to the races. But Lieb's a racer. Even in St. Louis, Lieb went down in the very first corner. The only people he was ahead of coming across the finish line was Randus and Mosman, who pulled into the pits. He still salvaged a 17th place finish, so an 8 here is a humongous value. The only Triple Crown gate drop that Michael Lieb has to his credit was Houston in 2019. He finished 14th overall with a 16-9-12 score. I think Lieb is more of a 10-12 guy, so with an 8 handicap, he could very easily score over 40 points this week. I intended to make an entire video this week about Triple Crowns and how your strategy might be different, but unfortunately I was unable to get to it. Had a lot of things at home and with work, and I just wasn't able to squeeze in 3 videos this week. I was even late on the first video. So I'll just briefly cover them here and we'll make a full-blown video for the next Triple Crown. This is something that you guys could go back and reference every Crown round if you need the refresher. The first thing that I want to point out is how the first to the finish line works in Triple Crown rounds. In the Triple Crown, the FFL, you only can score it once, but you get 3 tries to do it. So if Cooper Webb hole shots all 3 mains, you still only get 15 points, but at least you had 3 tries to do it. However, if Zach Osborne, Eli Tomac, and Ken Roczen all get the first to the finish line, then everybody who picked those riders gets 15 points. You only have to get 1 main right to get 15 full points. So you have triple the chances of getting your first to the finish lines here. It's definitely advisable, if ever you're going to take one, to take them now. Also, we're going to know all of the qualifying results and who's going to be in the main event before the night show even begins. So there is no reason to get a 0 this week. Please, please check your qualifying result. The gates are going to drop at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 Pacific. That's also when the picks are going to lock. So please, please, please check those starting lineups. Make sure you have everybody in. Something else to consider when taking those higher handicap guys is that you're going to have a main and then a main and then a main with a very short break in between. So the guys that only have one bike, or maybe they're working on their own bike, or they have an amateur level mechanic with them, they're going to have a much harder time if they have a problem in that first main getting back out there for those second and third mains. As of Thursday morning, my team looks something like this. I have Austin Faulkner and Cooper Webb for my All-Stars, as we talked about earlier. I also have Baggett on my team, Dean Wilson, and Michael Lieb. For the guys I didn't talk about, I have Luke Clout at a 0. Luke Clout should have 3 top 10s this season already. I think Clout is going to be an All-Star in no time. So again, those guys that aren't All-Stars right now, you got to take advantage of them while you can. The same goes for Mitchell Oldenburg. I know he bit a lot of people at A1, and there's been a couple bad races that he's had over the last couple years. But he's also a guy that's just on the bubble of being an All-Star, and he has 2 top 10s in his last 2 races with a 7th and an 8th. For first lap leaders right now, I have penciled in Austin Faulkner. I think that's a no-duh. Faulkner and Justin Cooper are probably the 2 common, with Christian Craig maybe as a guy that you could look at. For the 450s, right now I have Ken Roczen. I may switch that to Cooper Webb depending on how he qualifies. If he looks healthy and well and back to his old ways, I think I'm going to swap that over to Cooper Webb. I'm a little surprised he has not been up front yet this season, but it is a long start, so those higher horsepower guys definitely have a little bit of an advantage. Normally we go over who won in the league last week and who's leading, but I actually did that in our recap video from A2, so if you're interested in that kind of information, go ahead and check it out. And also, if you would, check out that video and let me know what you think. It's full of a bunch of stats about how everybody picked, what the high scores were, what the common picks were, things like that. A lot of information in there that is not me telling you what to pick, but it's more something that could help you make your own picks. I'll leave a link in the description for that video if you want to go back and check that out. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. My name is Donnie. This is Rotocross. May your chizzes always chiz and your jerrys not ever jerry. Good luck picking. Godspeed. And I hope that one of your riders doesn't take out another one of your riders this week. Take care, guys.